Hello everyone. Welcome to the third part of Pretend to be Mad Polyship challenge. It's KyouHabaKinKuni time. Oh boy, I missed them so much. As always, special thanks to my lovely patrons and all of you who still watch my videos. Don't forget to subscribe to keep up with the uploads and check out the members only posts. How serious he was when telling Atsumo he would wring his neck if something went wrong, that was up for question. However, he was sure he would have a hard time controlling his emotions if he did end up unintentionally hurting his boyfriends. Hence why he decided to start with Kunimi, the one who was the most probable to give him a deadpan reaction. He's probably just going to watch me for a while and then wait until it's over before saying anything. Which, in a way, was a good result. As long as no one took it too seriously or personally, things were good. Still, he couldn't help the slight tingling in his hands as he unlocked the door to their house, having to take one last deep breath before entering louder than usual. Since he couldn't blame his acted anger at losing a game, he prepared a different excuse concerning one of his new teammates who, in just the month he had been on the team, managed to piss him off several times already. He grumbled loudly under his breath as he marched into the living room, only throwing a quick greeting at Kunimi sitting by the table with his laptop, apparently still working. As expected, he only raised his eyebrow upon seeing Kyotani before his gaze returned to the screen. That day? Yeah. Did they sell out your beloved chicken? Kyotani just growled in answer and tossed his bag on the couch before he, to his best acting ability, stomped towards their bedroom and slammed the door behind him, strong enough that the pictures on the walls rattled. He waited for a while with bated breath, but fortunately nothing decided to fall, allowing him a short relief breath. Since he was about to wait for a while, he plopped stomach down on the bed, letting out a long sigh into the pillow. Next time that idiot Mia comes up with something, I'm leaving the chat. A soft knock on the door made him pause and listen. Can I come in? I guess. He only peeked up towards the door, too curious to not, but trying to keep up the act at the same time. Surprisingly, considering his gentle tone, Kunimi didn't seem nervous to come close, his face even and steps steady as he crossed the distance to the bed. Care to tell me what got you like this? Like what? This. He motioned to Kyotani's spread form. It's been a while since you slammed the door on one of us. Right, about 2 months. Those were not the memories Kyotani was proud of, but it didn't feel like Kunimi was bothered by the past. And so he just sighed again and hid his face in the pillow. I'm mad. You don't say. What happened? I don't even know. Just that idiot still thinks he's the best when he screws up everything he can. And the coach isn't doing anything about it because kid's got talent. Total bullshit. He was quite sure he heard Kunimi have a short chuckle before a warm hand rubbed his shoulder, releasing some of the tension settled there. Should we knock some sense into him? Now that was surprising, especially since Kyotani was pretty sure Kunimi was serious. At least partially anyway. I don't think that's a good idea. Worth a shot. Or, I can keep you company until it gets better. Unable to pretend anymore, Kyotani smiled and rolled on his side, earning a quiet squeal when he pulled Kunimi to lay down next to him. Sounds good. He wasn't entirely sure what kind of reaction to expect from Kindaichi. If it was back in high school, he probably would be able to tell. But the truth was, his boyfriend had matured a lot in the years they haven't seen each other. However, he still didn't like conflicts, especially among the four of them, knowing which made Kyotani cautious. Sure, it wasn't a conflict per se, but Kindaichi wasn't stupid and could read the room pretty well, meaning he would definitely suppose the anger could develop into an argument.
Gotta be careful with that. He's still a baby.
He thought that in the most affectionate way possible, even though he could clearly hear Kindaichi's offended gasp. But it was true. Despite being older than Kunimi by a pretty large margin, he was still the baby of their relationship. Yahaba always said so anyway.
And he's also the only one who can say that in front of him.
He wasn't sure if he should smile or feel jealous over their relationship, but then decided for the former, if only for the sake of his mental health. Jealousy wasn't nice, definitely not if left unchecked. However, he soon had to shift his expression since he already arrived home, preparing for any and all possible results. Kindaichi jumped a little when the main door shut behind him, confusion and worry evident on his face. Hi, did something happen? Kyotani just pushed past him with a low growl, worrying him even more if he could judge by the stutter behind his back.
I guess so.
Do you want to talk about it?
No.
Oh. But isn't it better to let it out? You know, since you always said that...
I know what I'm saying, but I don't want to talk about it.
It came out perhaps a little harsher than he intended, as Kindaichi fell completely silent, the nervous twitch of his hands telling him he should ease up. And so he sighed and pinched the bridge of his nose, opting to not go slamming more doors this time.
Just don't ask me anything right now, okay?
Okay, but are you sure? He froze and clapped his mouth shut. Sorry, I'll go do something. He sat down by the table as if he had a plank for spine, obviously trying to settle his nerves by fidgeting with his phone. Kyotani sighed again, the sight prompting him to lean on the table opposite of him.
I'm not going to argue with either of you, or yell at you.
That's good. Arguments are nasty, especially when someone is mad. He chuckled, but it sounded too strangled to be considered real. Before Kyotani could ask, his shoulders slumped a little, the nervous tick of his hands stabilizing for a moment.
I just don't want us to argue or have a silent household.
It makes it all too easy to do rash things and then everything falls apart. And then it suddenly clicked with Kyotani. He sat down too and reached for Kindaichi's hand, glad when instead of flinching, he squeezed it tight.
It's not going to happen again, okay? We aren't kids anymore. Yeah, sometimes communication is difficult, but nothing that would make us fall out. And besides, you did what you thought was best for the team back then.
That seemed to calm Kindaichi down a little. He even cracked a small smile, reminding Kyotani that he really had no objections to their joint relationship. Sure, he could see Kindaichi was still a little unsure around him, but he didn't mind working on that. That's good. Although I feel like I should have been the one calming you down, not the other way around.
It's fine. Worked out well anyway.
So, no fuming by dinner? Kyotani huffed a short laugh, squeezing Kindaichi's hand one more time.
No fuming by dinner.
It was a great risk he took on by trying this challenge with KyouHaba, especially now when, despite all of their attempts, KyouHaba's mental health seemed to be spiraling constantly, and Kyotani worried more and more. He still had in vivid memory seeing his beloved in hospital bed when the doctors desperately pumped his body with nutrients, holding his way too thin hand and hoping for the best. That one was fortunately in the past now, but he wasn't naive to think it couldn't happen again if they weren't careful. And pretending to be mad was not a thing that would help. Still, he hoped the reaction would be more along the lines of what he recalled from high school.
And if I see it's going bad, I'll end it and tell him. It's going to be fine.
He braced himself before walking through the door, quickly making sure KyouHaba was the only one in the surprisingly silent house before he stomped into the living room, his face scrunched in acted fury. He met KyouHaba's gaze briefly, just a second or less, the tiny, quiet welcome telling him he definitely shouldn't come too close to him during the challenge.
Fucking piece of shit!
He threw his back on the floor with a dull thud, deciding to not slam the door now either, and instead slammed his hands into the kitchen counters.
Everything has to be to their image, nothing is ever good enough for them, how even fucking dare they? Thinking they are who knows what, just a bunch of fucking snobs, that's what they are.
He gritted his teeth, realizing he subconsciously started to think of Shigeru's parents when trying to find a reason to be mad. But to be honest, it made his fury more real than anything else ever could. He hated them, from the very bottom of his heart. Them and his older brother who took after their parents in opinions. Ending in hell wouldn't be a just enough punishment for them. He forced himself to settle down a little, letting out a long, deep sigh before the silence turned his attention to KyouHaba. His boyfriend was still sitting in his place without emotion, only more slumped than before, as if he was trying to appear smaller, silent and not looking at him at all, just sitting there like a statue, or a frightened kid waiting for a storm to pass. Just as he thought that, KyouHaba glanced over his shoulder, his voice tiny when he spoke up. "Is that all?"
No.
Switching to high alert, he threw away all caution and made a beeline to the couch, his heart aching when Shigeru visibly fought to not back away from him.
What happened?
You said that...
I'm into you. Something happened, right?
He carefully held his hand when KyouHaba bit hard on his lip and looked away, the hesitation only confirming Kyotani's worries. For a while, neither of them spoke, until KyouHaba's shoulders tensed. Mother called. Kentaro froze.
What? Why? And where did she get your number?
From the gymnasium website, I guess. He let out a shallow breath, but Kyotani couldn't blame him.
This was bad. Terrible even.
Shigeru was already doing quite bad. The last thing they needed was to have his family reach out to him right now. There had always been a tiny sliver of hope that his parents, or at least his older brother, would realize how much they hurt Shigeru before and tried to make amends, or at the very least apologize. But seeing Shigeru's trembling hands and glossy eyes, Kyotani knew it didn't happen today either. I thought we could talk normally, but she just yelled. like always. I don't even know what set her off this time. Maybe that picture Akira posted yesterday, or some tabloid stuff about the frogs.
His voice hitched, bordering on sobbing, his eyes filling with water as he looked up, desperate and fragile.
I just want to live. I'm not doing anything wrong, am I? I'm just doing things to be happy, following my heart. But it's never enough. There's always some issue. It never works. Always ruining the family image. Just...
Shh. Nothing like that. He pulled Yahaba to his chest, squeezing him tight as if he could prevent the memories, distant and recent, from attacking his loved one. It was a naive thought, of course, a fruitless attempt, but he had nothing else right now. You aren't doing anything wrong. You're living your life. They have no right to mess with it or make you feel bad for it. Pushing the anger bubbling in his chest deep down, he pulled Shigeru as close as physically possible. Their damn idea of perfect is so fucking messed up. Fucking glass house.
With one crack?
No. He kissed the crown of his head. You are perfect. You are the most perfect when you are happy, doing what you want and living your way without them forcing you into their little box. More like cage. Shigeru stilled in his arms, but that was a good thing right now. Definitely better than the trembles running through his body before. They sat in silence for a while, with Kyotani just gently rocking them from side to side until he was more than sure Shigeru wasn't going to crumble any second. Only then he loosened his embrace, gently brushing the soft silver hair out of Shigeru's eyes. You know, I think your favorite piglet posted some new content.
Piglet?
Yeah, that stop-motion videos we watch, with the little pig eating sweets and stuff. He quickly searched among his followed pages for the right creator before showing Shigeru the video list. See? Knew it's today. Yahaba looked at him clearly confused.
You know about it?
Yeah, I saw you watching it a few times. He swallowed the rest of the sentence, saying, when you are anxious, and instead motioned to the screen to turn Shigeru's attention to it fully, reaching over to play the first video. He too focused on the screen then, quite enjoying the steady motion of the tiny pig munching on this or that. And then his heart skipped a beat when Yahaba finally chuckled. It was wet and little strangled, but the smile was real.
It's so silly.
Yeah. He kissed Yahaba's temple. But it makes you smile. That's important. Yahaba hummed an answer, which, given the situation, equaled to an enthusiastic squeal. And Kentaro would take that as long as his beloved was feeling well. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I really missed these 4. I should write more for them. And I have to get to actually write the Omegaverse storylines that I have prepared for the Polyships. Especially for KyouHabaKinKuni, because it's good. At least I think so. So, you know, fun. If you have any requests or ideas, the request form is linked in the video description. See you next time.